Alright, hey everybody, Nils Infinity here, back at it again. This time we're going to be playing a little bit of this Autopsy Simulator game. So, um, I did actually stream this one yesterday, but unfortunately something bugged out in the game, like a lag spike, and it basically just kind of shut down OBS from pretty much streaming it at all. So we're going to try to run it again and hope that we don't encounter that issue this time. I really would like to get a clear stream of this one for you. But yeah, so this is going to be the Autopsy Simulator. It's just the demo, so I'll play right through the demo. It's about maybe like a half hour. So let's go ahead. But in settings, so if you click here, settings, I have it English, VSync, all the same settings. Put the volume up a little bit. I put censorship on, mouse sensitivity here. I had it in the middle, and it was just way too crazy. So we'll kind of try with this. I don't remember where I put it, but I think it was somewhere here. So yeah, let's just jump right in and get to it. This actually wasn't too bad, to be honest.
No, do not call me anymore. It's none of my business.
Alright, so just give it a second. Okay. Alright, so yesterday I was kind of going through opening this stuff, but there's nothing in these drawers. You could basically read, all this stuff here. I'll just kind of have it up. I'm not going to read through everything. I just read through it all yesterday, but what I'll do is I'll leave it here so you guys can read it and stuff. You want to pause it or whatnot. Basically, you can just look at like the cups. Look at the whiskey bottles. Everything. See me looking back and forth because I'm just trying to make sure that I'm not lagging out like it did yesterday. I want to make sure no frames are dropped or anything.
Oh, the cups from Steven's visit yesterday. I don't think he likes my coffee. He barely took a sip.
Just a reminder, I'm seeing you on Friday. Right here are Aerosmith tickets. Turn the lamp on and off. Yeah, can't even imagine how much I missed you.
Oh shit. It's only Thursday.
Alright, so we're gonna try to... I mean, honestly, the game...
How am I supposed to record a lecture for the students now? Feeling completely broken. Oh, I'm gonna go nuts if I don't take my pills.
Yeah, I'll say the game played, like, perfectly fine. And it still is playing fine. But, I don't know what causes it to get lagged out and stuff. I feel like maybe it needs a little optimization. Oh, it does turn the fan on. You can come over here, look at some stuff too.
I really need to fix them. I borrowed it from Steven. Since Alice died, Steven is the only person I trust.
Love Alice. Little heart in the back there. Like I said, you can open these and stuff, but nothing was in these. You can open these. Nothing's really in, like nothing was in those or anything. Same thing.
It's for my guests, but they seem to never drink or say anything when they visit me.
Kind of disturbing. Another person gone missing. Pause it here if you guys end up wanting to see anything on this.
It's supposed to rain today.
So I feel like the issue I had yesterday, this game might just need a little optimization or something.
Fuck. Where are my meds?
So fingers crossed, you know, that you can like close these and open them too. Yeah, so fingers crossed that
Alright. Now I can go get the camera. This for sure is not the storage room.
thinking maybe. Trying to think of some stuff that might help to minimize some
It's
stuff.
starting to look like a garbage dump rather than a storage room. Well, I hope I won't forget to press the record button this time. The cheapest paint rollers from the supermarket. I don't think any colors would change how bleak this place is. The fuel for the power unit. I don't even know myself why it isn't in the shed. I don't even know what this pump is here for. Those are propane and butane gas bottles.
Renovation is clearly taking longer than expected.
Let's move on straight to our deceased. I'm wondering how the new tripod is going to work. Just frame it properly and... Oh, this should be fine. November 21st, 1991. Time, 8:43 p.m. Recording for medical students from the University of Missouri. The autopsy is conducted by Jack Hammond. Ladies and gentlemen, it is always worth having a look at the files before conducting the autopsy. That is where we can find all kinds of clues to what could have potentially happened to the deceased. Well, who do we have here today?
Yeah, this is where like the mouse gets kind of wonky. See real quick. see. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's kind of gives us crap. It's like when you open this file. Let's see. Open up something real quick. Yeah, see. Try something real quick. Give me 1 second.
attention
Alright,
to
well,
routine
hopefully this works out.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's my orient to sensify you for a few issues. First,
I had to
during
relaunch
detective
the
in
game
process
real
of
quick.
revealing and securing forensic traces, interference that changes the primary condition happens. The photographic documentation plays a huge role in the entire process of examination. Then, the body needs to be placed on its back on the autopsy table. The pathomorphologist stands on the left-hand side of the body. Third, very rarely but still, the cause of death remains unknown if all the tests come out negative. That's the so-called white autopsy. Now remember that it can also happen. Found on the outskirts of a parking lot near a gas station, where he often begged and insistently offered to clean the windows of cars that were leaving the station, the body was found in a dry field drain. A frequent cause of traumatic deaths among the elderly is the various types of accidents, including traffic accidents or falling down the stairs. The body was spotted by a station worker during the morning shift. At first, he thought that someone had thrown rain boots and a coat in a nearby ditch. It took him a moment to recognize a human body laying on its back. Signs of libation could be found around the dead body. Empty bottles, traces of an inept attempt to start a fire, and a scattered makeshift blanket. The deceased is locally known as Old Toby. Homeless and unemployed for at least a couple years. He had gotten into fights and had been bullied by the problematic youth of the town. He was that type of a man who never kept off alcohol, which caused him to be homeless. As a young man working in a suburban coal mine most of his life, he already abused alcohol, and as the time went by, he'd fall into addiction more. That's interesting. Although alcohol poisoning as a sole cause of death among the elderly people is relatively rare, different levels of alcohol poisoning happen among 1 in 4 deaths of elderly people, which may suggest that alcohol abuse is a significant issue in this age group. What is important to note, even though alcohol poisoning does not cause death, it does increase the risk of accidents and their following injuries. The body was found at 7 o'clock by Sheriff Matthew Thompson. White male, 76 kilograms, 5'8", age unknown. The deceased is a local homeless man named Toby Chambers. His son runs a hardware store. His wife ran away years ago. Local police have talked to residents, so we know more about the deceased. For example, that he loved drinking, and by no means was abstinent. Such clues can direct us to things that are worth keeping in mind during the autopsy. Where are the damn gloves? Now we can get to work. We're going to need the camera. It should be here somewhere. Must have left it in one of the drawers. Let's follow the procedure and prepare photo documentation. We must follow the top-down rule. Luckily, we don't have to take pictures of the clothes this time. We are only focusing on the body. Let's keep in mind it's all about the legibility. Voila! Now we move on to the next step. Trace search. We're going to need better zoom. And that's perfect. People affected by homelessness most often die from accidents, alcohol abuse, or they freeze to death. Unfortunately, both suicide and homicide are also quite common. Well, you don't have to stand close to be able to smell a strong odor of alcohol and other discharges. There's nothing left to say. Old Toby didn't spare himself. While taking the photos, some entries that could be potentially lethal caught my attention. Let's take a closer look using the magnifying glass. There are frostbite marks all over the deceased's body. Although they are most visible on the tips of his fingers, they can be recognized by the very specific color of the skin. However, the hands tell us much more. By the look of his feet, I assume Toby must have worn uncomfortable and dinky shoes for quite a while. However, such wounds have nothing to do with his death. An old wound that hadn't healed properly. It must have been some kind of burn or other injury. Nevertheless, it has nothing to do with the potential cause of death. That's something interesting. While making photographic documentation, ecchymosis can be seen on the deceased man's head. The appearance indicates the intravital nature of the wound. We'll come back later to see if everything is alright with the brain. What do we have here? Yeah, the odor can be the result of alcohol intoxication. The condition of the head tells us it could have been a fatal accident. It could be freezing to death. By the look of his feet, I assume Toby must have worn uncomfortable and dinky shoes for quite a while. However, such wounds have nothing to do with his death. An old wound that hadn't healed properly. It must have been some kind of burn or other injury. Nevertheless, it has nothing to do with the potential cause of death. At this point, that's all I can do based on all traces on the body of the deceased. The inside should tell me much. Now let's check the level of muscle tension. This will allow us to establish time of death. Let's raise the deceased's hand. And then let go. The stronger the rigor mortis gets, the greater the resistance from the muscles will be. As you can see, the hand falls loose. The rigor mortis has already subsided. We can then assume that the time of death stated in the files is correct.
Like so funny. Oh, it's a zombie.
Let's grab a scalpel. You can boldly cut with the scalpel. It won't hurt him no more. We always start with the neck and move down towards the simplest next. We separate the skin and prepare to remove the ribs. The adipose tissue has an intense yellow hue. As you probably already guessed, we're going to need the scissors. After removing both cartilage and bone tissues, we are actually interested in two things that you can see at the very first glance. The lack of organ congestion means that, although the deceased was cold, hypothermia wasn't the cause of death. We can eliminate freezing as the cause of death. The deceased smoked like a chimney. Let's take a closer look. We see widespread black and tarry deposits caused by smoking cigarettes. Despite the tragic condition of the lungs, they are not the cause of death. Now we need to go grab the syringe. At this point, we move on to collecting blood from the heart. 5 milliliters from the left ventricle should do it. Now, we prick the bladder and draw about 10 milliliters of fluid. We also collect the fluid from the deceased to determine the level of alcohol concentration in the vitreous humor. Keep in mind that you have to set the right time and speed on both knobs before running the centrifuge. Our samples may break into pieces due to the centrifugal force if we set up the wrong coordinates. I myself am terrible with numbers because I suffer from dyscalculia, which is why I always keep the appropriate coordinates at hand.
$75. 40.
Damn it. If something goes to shit, it's all the way. That's probably the blown fuses again. Hold up, I must have had a flashlight somewhere. And I was hoping to clock out early today. What was that? Where did I go? Yeah, it's definitely the fuses. Right goes first, left next. Voila! Where's that unbearable noise coming from?
Oh, that's weird. Yeah, that's kind of creepy. Yeah. There we go.
Where were we? Oh yeah, the blood alcohol concentration. Alright, let's see what we've got here. Well, everything is telling us that the BAC, blood alcohol concentration, is high, hence the smell we're getting from the deceased. Still, to be 100% sure, I have to send the samples to the lab. Unfortunately, I don't have the equipment to conduct a detailed analysis here.
Said something about examine it. Oh yeah, I think you gotta come over here. Oh no, the clipboard.
Now let's take a closer look at the stomach. As expected, the stomach has no major external damage. In this case, further inspection is no use. We must cut him open. That's interesting. In addition to a large amount of gas and liquid, the stomach also contains small amounts of yellow-grayish food content resembling some kind of meat. Either our deceased hadn't eaten in days, or some of the bulk of his stomach had found a way out. Oh, it couldn't have been suffocation, could it? Now we need to focus on the cardiovascular system, especially the heart. We take the organ and look it up and down, carefully. At first glance, the heart looks fine. The The pulmonary trunk and aorta seem to be in good condition. There are no pathological changes that have contributed to our Toby's death. Well, once we've got the body ticked off, we can move on to the head. Let's take the autopsy saw to cut through the skull to cleave it in two. Remember, the skull, not the saw. Anyway, we will start dissecting the brain from the occipital lobe. In this way, the brain's dura mater is slowly revealing itself. After the basic examination, we can see that the cerebral gyri in both brain hemispheres are symmetric and the bumps between them are clear. So far, so good. The hematoma seems to have had no effect on the organ we're examining. Let's check its transection. Moving on to the incision. Holding a knife with a long, narrow blade in your dominant hand, cut the cranial nerves on both sides, pulling the brain towards you. Remember, just one small fragment examined under the magnifying glass is enough to dispel or confirm our doubts. We then take the fragment of the brain to the tray and, literally and figuratively, go over it with a fine-tooth comb.
What up, dude? Thanks for jumping on the stream. I hope it looks alright. I streamed it yesterday and it lagged out, so...
Just as I initially suspected, we can rule the fatal accident out.
I'm hoping today it looks a lot better.
Same as we did with the stomach. External inspection didn't tell us anything. Now the scalpel comes into play. While cutting a small organ, such as the trachea, we must perform a precise incision. To be able to cut with the very tip of the blade, we must hold the knife as if it was a stylus. Ladies and gentlemen, I think we've got it. Based on the report and preliminary documentation, it is safe to assume that the deceased passed out after consumption of alcohol and then fell asleep on his back. Then the gastric contents refluxed and flooded the airways, causing death. That's why we don't forget about the recovery position at dorm parties.
This game's Autopsy Simulator. Yeah, it's just a demo. But how's the stream looking? Is it looking alright? Because I know, like I said yesterday, it was a bit laggy.
The death was caused by suffocation. It went quite smoothly today. I'm about to get off.
What were you expecting? What else?
In order to bring the chest of our deceased back to its initial state, at least to a small extent, we must take the needle in our hand.
I actually just planned on doing a 100+ demo stream, so I'm just streaming 100+ demos, kind of like back to back to back over, I don't know, maybe the next week or so. For sure. Oh, I'm always happy to have somebody here, so
stitch technique.
I appreciate it.
Is very strong and quick to do. I should probably get to that. I'm coming. This is Dr. Jack Hanman. Please leave a message.
Good evening. How are you? How are you? How are you?
What the f is that supposed to be? I'll finish the stitching and I'm getting the fuck out of here. What the fuck?
Well, there you have it, guys. That's Autopsy Simulator, the demo. Like I said, I feel like it does need a little optimization or something, because last stream and this one were both slightly affected by when you go to open up the patient's folders. So I don't know if that has something to do with it or what, but the game looks great. Everything seems to work really nice in it, and I'm definitely thrilled to see what this weird suspense kind of horror theme is going on. You got this lady saying stuff, the cat kind of jump scaring you, that door closed on its own, and now obviously the cadaver or corpse on the table is gone. So yeah, but yeah, definitely check it out, play it yourself. Like I said, if you notice it lagging in the stream or something, I think that's a little game related, but I think it's when it does that, it like spikes in the OBS, it's causing an issue. So hopefully this one was alright. But for me, the gameplay was perfectly fine. So I don't know, I just know that when you open that book, that's kind of when it does, or the folder, that's kind of when it does it. So, but yeah, definitely check it out for sure. But like I said, Nell's Infinity here, where life never ends, unless you're obviously in the Autopsy Simulator, then you're on my table. But yeah, I will go ahead and see you guys on the next one.